Welcome back. This is Brittany Sunshyne with Seed, Soil, Water, and we are talking about the frontal lobe as the creative force in the mind. So let's take a look at this diagram. Um, Frontal lobe questions what is compassion. So then the neural network, it starts pulling up different resources. There's a book on compassion. There's this DVD on compassion, personal experience of compassion. Then the frontal lobe assesses different neural networks from the past knowledge and the experience. And it's like, what does compassion amount to? Blah, blah, blah. Frontal lobe combines individual neural networks to form a new mind. And then and then it creates this internal representation of compassion over here. So let's see what it says. It says, when the frontal lobe is working in creative mode, it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain and it gathers all of the brain's information to create a new mind. If compassion is the new state of being that you want to create, then once you ask yourself what it would be like to be compassionate, the frontal lobe would naturally combine different neural networks together in new ways to create a new model or vision. It might take stored information from books you read, DVDs you've seen, personal experiences, and so forth to make the brain work in new ways. Once the new mind is in place, you see a picture, hologram, or vision of what compassion means to you. So, number 3, making thought more real than anything else. During the creative process, the frontal lobe's third vital role is to make thought more real than anything else. And how many people know how real that can be if somebody has a problem struggling with anxiety or depression or any other intrusive thought um, experience where it will override reality itself based on just what your beliefs are and what your mind is saying. When we're in a creative state, the frontal lobe becomes highly activated and lowers the volume on the circuits in the rest of the brain, so that little else is being processed but a single-minded thought. Since the frontal lobe is the executive that mediates the rest of the brain, it can monitor all of the geography. So it lowers the volume on the sensory centers responsible for feeling the body, the motor centers that are responsible for moving the body, the association centers where our identity exists, and the circuits that process time in order to quiet them all down. With very little neural activity, we could say that there is no mind to process all that sensory input. Remember that mind is the brain in action. No mind to activate movement within the environment, no mind to associate activities with time. Then we have no body because we have become no thing. Then we are no time. We are in that moment, pure consciousness, with the noise shut off in those areas of the brain. The state of creativity is one in which there is no ego, no self, as we have known it, and it allows for proper alignment with reality, surrender, trust, and relief. When you're in creation mode, the frontal lobe is in control. It becomes so engaged that your thoughts become your reality and your experience. Whatever you're thinking about in those moments is all there for the frontal lobe to process. As it lowers the volume from the other areas of the brain, it shuts out distractions. The inner world of thought becomes as real as the outer world of reality. Your thoughts are captured neurologically and branded into your brain's architecture as an experience. Again, this is why Seed, Soil, Water Spa exists, because there are even just tiny little daily mindset starters to get your mind going in the right direction, to break out of the habit of whatever your memorized thought processes are. If you want to see a different future, then you have to stop thinking the same thoughts that you've been thinking every day for the past. So I had Seed, Soil, Water Spa. It's another channel. It's the sister channel to this one. Seed, Soil, Water Spa, morning mindsets. And then there's also visualizations and meditations. And like I mentioned in the last video, my life is kind of taking this crazy, amazing turn into a new season. And it's still kind of laying out in front of me. So I'm not exactly sure what exactly is going to stay in path and what's not going to stay in path. So stay tuned. If you're interested in finding out, definitely subscribe here. and subscribe to Seed Soil Water Spa. Yeah, and make yourself known if you're interested in seeing that content continue. Otherwise, I might just end up focusing on what this new season seems to be presenting, which is more music related, and we will see what shakes out. But the point is, as this is explaining, is that our thoughts can literally be captured and neurologically branded into our brain's architecture as an experience. So you don't even have to have ever seen $1 million for it to be captured in your brain's neurological branding, in the architecture of your mind. You can literally manifest it. You can call it through. You can magnetize it through just thinking about it, through putting yourself into that relief, into that, what would that even be like? Would I even want that? You know, maybe it's not $1 million. Maybe that's too much for somebody. I don't know. Maybe you just want enough to like pay for a house and have some time freedom. So anyway, I digress. The point is, your thoughts are captured neurologically and branded into your brain's architecture as an experience. So if you effectively execute the creative process, this experience produces an emotion, as you know, and you begin to feel like that event is actually happening to you in the present, and you are one with the thoughts and the feelings that are associated with this desired reality. You are now in a new state of being. You could say that in that moment, you are now rewriting the subconscious programs by reconditioning the body to a new mind. And for any of us that have been through we know how the trauma that happens in traumatic relational or whatever situations can become that loud voice anytime you start to try and have a new experience. And it's like, wait, is this safe? Do you remember what happened? Is this safe? Remember this, remember that? And it's important to have a strategy to be able to overcome that past self so that you don't project the experience of the past onto a new, fresh, totally safe situation and circumstance. I may not be speaking from complete experience right now because I'm having to do that right now. The frontal lobe as the volume control. Okay, let's see. I'm going to make myself smaller. So for those listening, there is a diagram here. The frontal lobe as the volume control. So look here. This is a single-minded thought up here. This, remember what we read about last time, is that this is like the newest, most evolved part of our brain. So those of us who are actually learning or remembering, I believe ancient, that they knew how to do this in the ancient times, and then it's like we lost sight of it somehow, and now we're coming back. So for those of us who know how to do this, it's an evolved practice. It's an ancient evolved, however that goes. So here in this area is the motor center, moving the body. Here's the sensory, feeling the body. The parietal lobe, this is time and space. Then the visual center, where we see the environment. Here's the midbrain, which is where our emotions are. This is really helpful to see. And then right here is the temporal lobe, which is the association center, which is where identity is stemming from, because it's how we create associations with our circumstances, with other people, with relationships, with job, blah, blah, blah. When the thought that you are attending to becomes the experience, the frontal lobe quiets down the rest of the brain so that nothing else is being processed but that single-minded thought. You become still. You no longer feel your body, you no longer perceive time and space, and you forget all about yourself. It's a wonderful place to be. Lose your mind, liberate your energy. In the act of creation, when we become that nobody or that no thing in no time, we no longer create our customary chemical signature because we are not the same identity. We don't think and feel in the same way. Those neural networks our survival thinking had wired are now turned off. And the personality that was addicted to continually signaling the body to produce stress hormones is gone. Thank the good Lord. In short, the emotional self that lived in survival mode is no longer functioning. The moment that happens, our former identity, the state of being bound by survival-based thinking and feeling, is no more. Since we are no longer being that same being, emotional energy that had been bound to the body is now free to move. Let it be so. So where does the energy go that once fed that emotional self? It has to go somewhere. So it moves to a new place. That energy in the form of emotion moves up the body from the hormonal centers to the heart area on its way to the brain. And all of a sudden, we feel great and joyful, expanded. We fall in love with our creation. That's when we experience our natural state of being. Once we stop energizing that emotional self powered by the stress response, we have moved from being selfish to selfless. With that old energy transmuted into a higher frequency emotion, the body is liberated from its emotional bondage. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing to know how to do this, everybody. It is so worthwhile, so worth learning, because I just went through this where I'm having kind of like low vibe from past experiences, like trauma, straight up trauma, trying to warn me about a new experience, being like, this isn't safe when it really is safe. But it's just like it's remembering something from the past. And so my brain is firing to my body, like, we're not safe here. We're not safe here. And I'm going, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And so, anyway, to have the tools to sit down and know how to meditate out of that and liberate myself from that emotional bondage is so valuable. It will save your freaking life and definitely your mind. Okay, we are lifted above the horizon to behold a whole new landscape, no longer perceiving reality through the lenses of those past survival emotions. We see new possibilities like health, rootedness, healthy relationships, joy, happiness, abundance, expansiveness, time freedom, options, loyalty, faithfulness, real love. Yeah. We are now quantum observers of a new destiny, and that release heals the body and frees the mind. There it is. Free your mind. I better not sing it too much because I could get a strike on here, huh? Okay. Let's revisit the chart of energy and frequencies from the survival emotions to the elevated emotions. Oh man, where's it going to take us if I click on that? When anger or shame or lust are released from the body, they will be transmuted into joy, love, and gratitude. On this journey to broadcasting higher energy, the body, which we condition to be the mind, becomes less of the mind and becomes more coherent energy. The matter that makes up the body expresses a higher vibratory rate. Oh yeah, remember this one? This is that figure that had the vibes, the vibrational frequency, and it showed like the wavelengths. Okay. It expresses a higher vibratory rate, and we feel more connected to something greater. In short, we are demonstrating more of our divine nature because spirit is light. When you're living in survival, you're trying to control or force an outcome. That's what the ego does. But when you're living in the elevated emotion of creation, you feel so lifted that you would never try to analyze how or when a chosen destiny will arrive. You just trust that it will happen because you've already experienced it in your mind and your body, in thought and feeling. You know that it will because you all feel connected to something greater. You're in a state of gratitude because you feel like it's already happened. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's really beautiful when you're in that. You may not know all the specifics of your desired outcome, how it's going to happen, when it will take place, where, and under what circumstances, but you trust in a future that you can't see or otherwise perceive with your senses. To you, it has already occurred in no space, no time, no place, from which all things material spring forth. So we do realize that, right? And once again, back to scripture, it says all things made were made in him, and through him nothing was made outside of him. So it's like it's that essence of life force. It's the spirit, it's the quantum field, it's the essence of the life breath of the divine. And even in chemistry, it shows us that everything breaks down to a single molecule. Like, how does that make any sense? How can every single thing break down into a single molecule that then creates light, sound, physical matter, like all different kinds of matter that feels and looks different? Like, how? It blows my mind, and it creates everything. So the point is, everything comes from this nothingness. And because of that, we can choose to draw things in to the 3D through that space of nothingness, just based on our own imagination, our own desired outcome, defining it and trusting and then surrendering it. It's just such a weird dynamic where it's like you got to really think about it. Then you got to like let it go and be like, I'm not going to think about it anymore. I surrender it over to the divine path and allow it to just like take place. It's just really bizarre how it all works out. To you, it has already occurred in no space and no time and no place from which all things material spring forth. So you are in a state of knowingness. You can relax into the present and no longer live in survival. To anticipate or analyze when, where, or how the event will occur would only cause you to return to your old identity. It's so real. And it's so clearly stressful when that happens. You are in such joy that it's impossible to try to figure it out. That's only what human beings do when they are living in limited states of survival. As you linger in this creative state, where you are no longer your identity, the nerve cells that once fired together to form that old self are no longer wiring together. That's when the old personality is being biologically dismantled. That's so huge. Do you hear that? You can actually dismantle your old biology and the personality that was you by just shifting your thoughts. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This isn't just philosophy or just like faith. This is physics. It's freaking science. And it is proven by every person that applies it legitimately to work. So it's a universal principle, just like how a computer system, like a computer program, is written in a certain way, and there's commands that you can say command A, and that means command all, and then command V is paste, and just like how that is, like it's written into the format of the computer program. Same thing is this, like we are written into this computer program that we live in, and there are these universal principles that we can apply in order to have access to change via our free will choices and thoughts. But it requires discipline. It requires like activation. It requires learning this. And that's why we're here. Okay. Those feelings connected to that identity, which condition the body to the same mind, are no longer signaling the same genes in the same ways. And the more you overcome your ego, the more the physical evidence of the old personality is changed. The old you is now gone. Woo! That's a good thing. Okay, so here we have the two states of mind, of the mind and body. Okay, so we're going to compare survival versus creation. Okay, I'm going to just read all the survival ones first, and then I'm going to read creation. So that's our fresh list. Okay, so survival states include stress, contraction, catabolism, like catabolic, right? Dis-ease, imbalance, breakdown, degeneration, fear, anger, sadness, selfishness, environment, body, time, energy loss, emergency, narrow focused, separate, reality determined by senses, cause and effect, limited possibilities, incoherence, and known. Okay, creation mode, the state of creation mode includes homeostasis, which means just like being at balance, being at in balance, at neutrality, right? I don't know if that's the best way to explain that. Expansion, awareness that anything is possible. Anabolism, I don't know that word. Health, good health. Order, things are in repair and regeneration. There's love and there's joy and there's trust. And there's a freedom with selflessness. And there's not an obsession with thing, body, or time. No thing, no body, no time. Energy is created here. There's growth and repair. There's open focus. There's a sense of being connected, like to the essence of the spirit or to the quantum field, however you want to look at it. There's reality beyond senses. There's causing an effect. Like when you're in creation mode, you're actually causing an effect. There's all these possibilities. There's coherence, and there's acceptance of the unknown. By completing part 1 of this book, you have intentionally acquired a knowledge base that will help you create your new self. Now let's build on that base. We've covered a lot of possibilities. The concept that your subjective mind can affect your objective world, your potential to change your brain and body by becoming greater than your environment, by becoming greater than your body and becoming greater than time, and the prospect that you can move out of the reactive, stressful mode of living into survival as though only the outer world is real, and enter the inner world of the creator. It is my hope that you can now view these possibilities as possible realities. If you can, then I invite you to continue on to part 2, where you'll gain specific information about the role of your brain and the meditative process that will help prepare you to create real and lasting change in your life. I am here for it. Okay, I'm going to leave this here. Be blessed, be well, be free, and join me in the next one. And we're going to get started on part 2. This is exciting stuff.